Hi to you listening in the dark. I have a story for you about my friend Andrew. So Andrew and I go way back to when we lived in South Korea because we're like interesting or whatever. And I was 23 and this was like 2008. We became friends. Me, Andrew, Laura, we like took a bus to the coast in Korea and then like hitchhiked around. And I'm so weird about being on a bus sometimes that he asked me if I'd ever been in a bus accident because I kept being like really anxious every time we braked. But anyway, the point is, been friends for so long. Been friends for so long. And, you know, we kind of have spoken more during COVID. I stayed with him right after I met Catherine in Edinburgh. I went down to London, stayed with Andrew. He was such a good friend. We went to the sauna. We scrubbed the way that we did when we were in Korea. Beautiful friendship, right? He loves the podcast, listens to every episode. And then this is the part, right, that I've been building.
Thank you. I'm ready.
He said, you know, I keep forgetting I really should subscribe on my podcast app. And I was like, what? Like, you don't, like, you listen to all of the episodes. So much so that he's messaged me and told me his favorite thing. And he's asked about Catherine. He's like checked in. He doesn't fucking subscribe. And this is my friend, you know, like one of my soul friends. And I was like, how many people?
You've scrubbed together in Korea.
And in London, you know, like
in London,
just major
international scrubbing, really.
Yes, you know, and that's a vulnerable thing. You sit there for hours in like a bathing suit, or it's kind of like a, you know, scantily clad outfit, and you
a lot of dead skin.
Totally. And he doesn't fucking subscribe to the podcast, and I was like, if my friend, like my heart friend, my love, does not subscribe to the podcast, how many other people are just sitting there listening without subscribing? And they just check in when they remember. So this is for all you people hiding behind the app. If you wouldn't mind, just go to the app and subscribe. And while you're there, rate us 5 stars. Thank you for listening.
Wow. Doesn't sound crazy at all. Doesn't sound.
Oh, and by the way, like us on Instagram. Everyone's doing better. I don't know, leave a review, leave a comment, you know, you can write a thing. That's the magic of the moment, is that you can give your opinion at any point. Just give it. Because if you're listening, I feel like you like it, unless you're like one of those people who like hate listens because you are mad at.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody has to, right? Somebody must be hateful.
I can think of at least one person.
I can think of a lot of people, because I'm pretty sure you and I are the kind of people who would hate listen to a podcast.
I can't listen. I don't listen to other people's podcasts. I can't even hear the sound of my own voice, frankly. So I'm going to echo your sentiment. Please listen and subscribe, but I will never listen or subscribe to anything.
Except when I made you listen to this podcast and you couldn't do it on normal speed. So you jacked it up to 1.5. And then the two of us kind of pissed ourselves. That was pretty fun.
Yes, actually, no, that is something. If you don't like this podcast, go ahead and try it at 1.8 speed and then tell me how you really feel.
Sorry, 1.8. That's crazy. That's like giving someone a full dose the first time. Not 1.5.
No. I like 1.5, but 1.8 took it to a level of like Fantasia for me. You know,
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to Everyone's Doing Better Than Me, the podcast where we talk about how other people's successes trigger us. My name is Eve Ellenbogen, and I'm here with my co-host, collaborator, soul friend.
I thought you were going to say my name, but I'll Catherine. I hate even saying my own name. God, what a name, huh?
Whereas I'm like, my name is Eve. I was the first woman ever to like my name. And you're like, Catherine. Sorry, my name's Catherine. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you even know my full name?
Mary Catherine, Nightmare on Elm Street.
I did change it to that a few years ago, actually. So you are correct. No, but it's Mary Catherine Elizabeth.
I thought it was Elizabeth. I thought that, but then I was like, no, I just kind of, I know that because
You've had all my credit cards in your house, in your hand.
And literally still do, but also more because you arranged delivery and like pickup and delivery of your clothes from here to you in London.
Yes.
And people called me, and it was all in your name. And people called me and they were like, "Hello, is this Mary Catherine?" I'm like, "She's dead. She's dead. Never say her name."
I haven't seen her in years.
Yeah, that whore is dead in this house. Don't you dare say, it's like, my aunt Amelia, my aunt, not my aunt, my aunt Amelia, my dad's older sister, who was born in like 1916, I think. She married someone who wasn't Jewish, and who was actually German. Real shocking.
I thought you were going to say married somebody named Mary Catherine, and I was like, oh, progressive.
Yeah, that's my family. And my grandfather, who had like walked from Hungary across Europe and like, had to like beg for food. He walked from Hungary across Europe to get a ship to America in like 1899. And he begged for food at a barn, and the family story is about how they gave him a ham sandwich and he threw it on the ground in disgust because that's how Jewish he was. He sat Shiva, meaning that like, it's like a ritual for when someone dies. He's at Shiva for my Aunt Amelia when she married a non-Jew.
Aunt Amelia.
I'm sorry. God, you're so critical. And and then she had kids, and then whatever. Then it's like, oh, you're alive again. But my point is, had they called the house, the way that the FedEx people called me about you, he would have said, "She's dead. Never say her name again." But so that was the energy I was bringing to the Mary Catherine.
That's actually, I feel like that's how I should start answering my telephone.
Wow.
When the people are like, "Is this Mary Catherine?" I'll just scream, "She's dead!" Like, and then that'll be that.
Yeah, because that person doesn't know you if they're calling you Mary Catherine. They're
well, and anybody calling me these days doesn't know me. I don't get calls from people I know except for you or my mother.
Yeah.
So the chances are, yes. So chances are, if I'm getting a call, it's not good, and it's from someone I don't know. So
yeah, she's dead.
Yeah. She's dead. What do you even say to that? That's the perfect out. And it's so funny because like, I do have like a pretty unique accent. So could you imagine? I'm like, "She's dead," and then someday I do end up on TV. They're like, "Wait a minute, that person's supposed to be dead. I called them."
Is that Mary Catherine Elizabeth Henson? I called her in 2021, and some witch screamed that she was dead. Can there be two? Can there be two? And you really like fuck with someone's head, and then they try to track you down, and they like come to a show, and you think they're there for like an autograph or something, a picture, and they're like, "Are you the woman? Did you live at," and I won't say your address, even though it's the funniest street name I've ever heard in my life, and I use it as a punchline every time we talk. But unfortunately for me, because I have the right to tell jokes and be funny, you want to be private and not feel like people could stalk you, because it's the only street in London that is called that. So I can't say it. So that's stupid. Actually, your boundaries are stupid.
Last night on this very block that you love the name of so much, all the power went out on the block.
Really?
In every apartment, every street lamp, our apartment, it was off for maybe like 20 seconds, and you could see people coming to their windows because everybody's power went out, and then it went back on. What's up with that?
Well, it's because on a different episode of the podcast that I never played for you, because you never listen to the podcast anyway, so you wouldn't even fucking know. I actually, every time I say the name of your street, because I'm like, she doesn't listen. And I've said, if you are a stalker, I want you to signal me by cutting the power on the street.
The whole street.
The whole street. Yeah, because I didn't say your address, your number of your house. I just said the street. And that means that people are listening. That means that, thank you. Like and subscribe. If you're going to listen, you should be subscribing. If you're going to stalk Catherine.
I remember the other thing I wanted to say, and it kind of comes along with the phone calls. See, I always answer when you call, so you would have never heard my voicemail. But I am that asshole who has the voicemail that goes, "Hello," and then I pause, And then I go, I'm sorry, I'm not here right now. And
Oh my God, that is so horrible. And I hope that that costs you a job one day. Like that's so, I hate that.
oh, don't worry. I will never have a job again. I'll be dead before I work again. That's for
But
sure.
even a gig, I mean, that is so wrong. In the world of comedy, there's so many people who are not stable. We're all like holding on by a thread. Somebody calls you, they need you to fill a spot last minute. And you're like, hello? And they're like, Catherine, get down here. I'm sorry. I'm not. It's like, I hope you never get that back. Like you don't, because I hate when people have that because I'm a phone talker and nobody answers their phone anymore. So I call everyone all the time and I'm like, well, if they don't want to talk, then they just shouldn't have a phone, and then I get those voicemails and it really hurts. It feels personal to me when I get the like, hey, and I'm like, hey, you picked up. I didn't. Sorry, you got my voicemail. And I'm like, oh, nobody has ever wanted to talk to me. Like, it feels so bad.
That's funny because see, where that feels personal to you, the wind feels personal to me. Like, just the very existence of every time there is nothing, there is no element.
What do you mean?
I loathe more than the wind. The wind, when it is windy, which you've been in New York, when it's really windy,
Yeah.
where you could scream and no one hears you through the wind.
Yeah, totally.
I used to live a 20-minute walk to the nearest subway to get to my job. This is
in Brooklyn?
when I lived in Brooklyn. Yeah. Because I actually, this is hilarious. I moved into my new apartment like right as I got this new job, so I didn't like think about it. So then of course the subway to the new job was the 20-minute walk, which that walk has, I shit my pants once on that walk. Worst 20 minutes of my life. The wind on that walk, and like, so I've done that walk when it's been windy and screaming into the wind and no one can hear you. And every time it blows like that, I feel like I'm the only one in the world that it's terrorizing. I would trade a beautiful summer breeze to never experience one just air full of wind ever again. I hate the wind.
I don't think you get that option. That's not even.
Of course I don't get that option. I don't get anything I want anymore.
That's not really trading anything nice though. Anything like, you're like, I would give one beautiful summer breeze, which is like nice.
No, all of them.
All of them. Oh, okay.
I'd trade them forever. No more breeze. No more breezes. No more. I'd trade air conditioning.
No.
For no wind. Yes, I would. You don't realize.
Would you trade heating? Because I know how you feel about heating.
I need the heat. The heat.
Well, then you got to have the wind.
But the heat is a direct, like, I think opposite to wind.
Right. And that's why you'd have to if you gave up heating, I bet you there wouldn't be any more wind in your life. I just know it. I think you should give up the heat, see what happens. You got to do it for a year. You got to really suffer before the wind pays attention.
There'll be more wind if I give up heating. There'll be more wind.
I'm telling you, I have a feeling about this. I'm a very intuitive person. And I feel like if you were to give up the heat for a year, things would really turn around for you with the wind.
Well, if I get good at this Wim Hof breathing, I'll give it up for a year. And then I want to see no wind in my life. No wind in my life ever again.
All right, but you should explain, because the Wim Hof breathing, I've got to say, when I told you about that last week, and of course, I told you about it. I always have to take credit for anything I do that's nice. Mm-hmm. And
you're the second person to tell me about it, but yes, you did the most recent. How about that?
I cannot believe you're doing this. And also, I just want to point out that you only started doing it after I told you about it, sent you the documentary.
That is true.
And shared the app with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do have to say, the app made me feel like, I had that like an initial reaction of like, oh, everyone is just a capitalist monster and you're gonna, take my money for breathing. But you know what? That's fair. Everybody's got to, make some coin, as somebody who hasn't made coin for a minute, I feel that. But that doesn't, I did watch the documentary in spite of also hating everything about the little squirt that was doing the documentary.
The Vice guy. So he's like
Vice guy.
Wim Hof is also called the Iceman. He's like a Dutch, for anybody who doesn't know, he's like a Dutch kind of like a like a muscly older Dutch man who looks like his name is Wim. I mean, because it is. You know, he's got like a ponytail and he's like, yes, you know, the thing you can do is to breathe deep into your belly. You know, he's like very intense and definitely would be fantastic in bed. You wouldn't want to like look at him. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
He's handsome. He's handsome,
but it's like, yeah, you're right. He's not ugly or anything. It's just like, I'm like, Wim, just take me like the wind, you know, just take, like, just hold my body and do to it the things that you do. I just know that he wouldn't even have to like, I don't know, he would just do like
breathe into it.
Yes.
He'd give you CPR. That's all he'd do. That's what he does is breathe.
That's what I want, is someone to do Wim Hof breathing into my vagina. Like that's like, and then that's how I
blow up like a balloon. You know what I mean? Like one of those big like Pooh Bear balloons. You know what I mean? Like over that people get for their birthday, just like.
Well, I think it'd be like a fun thing, like for a guy, because recently somebody I was like sleeping with, and yes, I broke the 1 year
the seal.
Yeah, the new, I mean, the thing is, what people don't tell you is that like after a year, like a small like film, like a saran wrap, like re-encases you, and somebody has to like puncture it with fingers or dicks or whatever. And I got both, baby. And so, like,
are there like cobwebs stuck to that saran wrap, or are there, you know, mosquitoes?
There's like lint and hair. You know what I mean?
Hair. My dog's hair is probably, there's a little bit of that stuck in there.
Your dog's hair was so triggering to have piles of your dog's hair that were on your clothes, like gathering in my apartment, like some kind of just like reminder of a pet I never got to enjoy in the first place. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get to pet him and go, well, I love him, but you know, he sheds, but it's okay. Instead, it was just like, oh, I'll do this for Catherine, and now I have her dog's hair in my apartment. But anyway,
can I say one thing about that you just. Because this is me with my Wim Hof breathing, you know, trying to trigger, you know, positive thoughts. I was always concerned about that dog dying, right? And he's retiring with my mom in California now. But I remember
retiring. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, he has a better life than anybody at this point.
Well, just like what was his job before? You know what I mean? It was like just being. I
mean, he was a New York City dog, you know, like going around woof woof, you know, and now he's like, my mom, I've gotten photos of this before, and my mom has called me up to tell me this. He stops and smells the flowers. Like he'll smell each flower. It's the cutest fucking thing in the world. And so he's just out there in the yard smelling flowers and then sitting by the fridge waiting for the snacks. And like, That's his life now, retirement. Whereas in New York, he had to deal with me, you know, which was a lot of like forced cuddling and like, you know,
sobbing. Like just sobbing
and sobbing, frankly, sobbing. But so I was always concerned. I was like, when this dog dies, I'm going to find tufts of his hair everywhere, and every time I see it, I will be unmanageably emotional. And now I don't have to do that. So thank you, coronavirus. Like
thank Eve. I literally vacuumed your shoes. Like,
well, I know, but we had to get here somehow, right? So coronavirus made it so my shoes and my clothes got vacuumed by Eve in Brooklyn before they came to me in London, and now it's like I never even had a dog. Isn't that nice?
It's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Like I've just vacuumed out your memories. Like...
God, I wish you would have taken more of them. I swear.
Oh God, that was anyway, it's okay. I still find a couple hairs here and there. I found one in my underwear the other day and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I have Catherine.
He loved underwear. He loved chewing on underwear.
It's just one of those things where you're like, how do things work? How does time and space and physics happen so that this dog who hasn't lived in New York for over a year, his not remains, but his pieces of him are in my underwear. Like I never met him. We didn't overlap. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway.
Pieces of him are in my underwear.
This guy.
That's what she said.
This guy I slept with was frustrated. We only slept together like 4 times, but 2 different days, right? One day was a very productive day, 3 times in one day, the other day, one day. But he was frustrated which I thought was a bit ridiculous, that he didn't know how to make me come. Like he couldn't do it on his own. I had to be like involved, which like I don't give a fuck if I don't need it to be like, oh, I just want it to be a surprise. I'm like, no, all I want is to come where there's someone else in the room, preferably with part of their body inside of me. You know what I mean? Like I don't like, and it could be a finger, again, could be a dick, could be a piece of your beard. I don't know. I don't care. But like just I need just someone to witness me. That's all I really need. And so he was involved, but like
to validate it, put a stamp on it, be like, it happened. It did happen.
Well, because it's just like there's something that's so unsatisfying about coming in secret for so long. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, it wasn't a fucking secret. I knew about it. You told me all the goddamn time.
I'll tell you what, if I'd had any neighbors, because so many people moved out during COVID from this building, but if I had any neighbors, they would have known about it too, because I've gotten so much louder, like just even like masturbating, where I'm like, I don't care. Like if it has to be alone, I'm not being quiet anymore. If it's alone for this long, I am sharing it with people so that maybe they think I'm doing better. But he was frustrated that he couldn't just do it without my involvement, which I think is like such a guy thing. It's like, oh no,
it really is.
I know that you came really hard, but I wanted to be the one. It's like, shut up. But what I'm going to do next time someone says that to me, I'm going to make them learn Wim Hof breathing and tell them that that's the only way I can come is if they hyperventilate into my vagina.
I had forgotten where we started, and I'm really glad you didn't. I was like,
no.
Yeah. Good. I think that's great. And you know what? I bet if you taped it, you could sell that on the internet, make a pretty penny, turn it into Wim Hof. What would it blowing into your vagina? That could be like your thing. You turn into an app and sell how to do.
Well, it's kind of like Bikram yoga, you know, like Bikram, he like, you know, he's like the one who brought hot yoga to the West or whatever. He didn't invent shit. He just used yoga poses, rearranged them, and then put them in high temperatures and then, you know, copyrighted it. I could do this with Wim Hof. Like, it's just breathing. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's not like a thing that Wim Hof can copyright. So I can do that and then make it about the vagina, you know, the cum. But here's the part where it all falls apart is that I don't think it would make me cum. You know, like it would just be a thing I could do to drive a man crazy where he's like,
aren't you?
Yeah. What?
You're not good at faking it at this point?
I don't do it because I don't want men to get away with that.
You know? I agree, but you strike me as a talented actress. Is what I
could
say.
fake it. I could fake it for sure.
So I guess what I'm saying is, could you fake it for a price? Do you know what I mean? You're getting paid. You'd scam the world, but everybody would be blowing Wim Hof style into people's pussies, trying to make it go. What if it were? I mean, you know, but you would be collecting money, and at this point, I even if I'm money adjacent, that would make me feel good, you know.
Well, also, I think because you've started doing the Wim Hof breathing, that it actually really helps you be peaceful. And so I could scam people into being enlightened. Do you know what I mean? I could scam them into making their lives better. So it's like, yeah, I lied to you about the sex part of it, but don't you feel better? You know?
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that because like I'm also doing the transcendental meditation, right, which I find a little bit more helpful right now, but it will probably like switch on and off. But it's like when you said scam people into being enlightened, I like in my like research of trying to do this, because you know I've tried the mindfulness shit and it stresses me out because I can't do it. It's like clear your mind, and then the first thing that happens is like all of my trauma floods in, and then it's like it's like trying to pick my dog hair out of shit, you know. I don't have a vacuum big enough to get rid of all of it to clear my mind, and by the time I even get close to clearing my mind, they're like, and you're done, and I'm like, I didn't even start. And so it's like a whole stressful experience. So I learned that, you know, transcendental meditation, it's like you're repeating this mantra, and it's okay for the thoughts to come in. You know, they can come in, they can go out, and then you can keep repeating this mantra or this sound. But I learned through all this research when trying to figure out how to do it, that I guess there's a company here, or maybe it's worldwide, called like TM, and they've copywritten it, and they're like,
is it an adjacent company? Or is it
it's transcendental meditation, you know, professional teachers, and you pay like, £500 to go there and then they give you your mantra,
Yeah.
and then I guess, the thing that I've read, and it's like, whatever works for people. And if you've got money to burn, then go for it. But anytime I'm seeing like I have to pay for something now, I like have this immediate reaction of just like I vomit and then I like forget about it. Because like I have no money.
Yeah.
And but
500.
but yeah, I guess yeah, or it's in varying degrees of pricing of what you want. Like
Right.
if you want to do these classes where you show up and you're with other people and you do it together and you're like accountable and the teacher makes sure you're doing it right and all
Right.
this shit. But yeah, they've like turned it into a little fucking business and then I was kind of on ketamine and I was watching this like Australian bushman, like in the middle of the woods, like roll himself a spliff, like really long-winded, finally get to the point like you just repeat your mantra in your head, like
Yeah,
they're crooks,
yeah,
like
totally.
you literally don't need teachers. I guess if you want the community you can fucking pay for it, but Jesus, I mean, you can be a Satanist for free, so there's community.
Well, I told you that my mom did TM, and I don't know what she paid, but I know she did pay for a mantra, and she died. So I don't think you need I don't think I don't think the mantra is the thing that's going to cure. I mean, my dad said to me that he used to, and this is, I mean, I think about it's funny, but then I'm like, did my dad kill my mother by being annoying? Like he used to, like she'd be meditating because she was a super anxious person, um, super overachieving, super like, kind of type A. And so she did TM, especially because she had MS, right? And that's like a stress triggered disease. And so she would do her TM and she had a mantra. And my dad wanted to know what the mantra is. But the whole thing is that it has to be a secret forever. Because, of course, if you tell people, they'll realize that they're just giving out the same fucking mantra to everyone, probably. Or it's like, like you say it faster and you're like, wait a minute, it's just kung pao chicken. It's like, just like,
it's just red rum.
yeah, exactly. And so my mom would be meditating, and my dad said that he would go, tell me your mantra, like in her ear. And I'm like, that sounds like something I would die to get away from, like that sounds like something I'd be like, I don't know how to bring this up in marriage counseling and ask for a divorce based on, well, he does this thing that's really annoying. I think I'm just gonna die.
Yeah. When I'm doing my best to try to live, he does this thing that I don't makes me want to die. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna die.
What's fucked is like I think on some level I do kind of suspect. I think I have this like feeling like, what if the stress of dealing with my father contributed to my mother dying? Because my dad is a fucking stressful person and I love him so much, and like I'm probably a stressful person, and I don't like to I like to think I don't end people's lives that often. That's why I tell them
I'm the opposite. I like being the catalyst.
well, I think it's like why I give people things like Wim Hof. I'm like, trust me, you need to de-stress from dealing with me. Live. But
live so I can stress you out more.
Yeah, live. Let's make a podcast together. Like, come on, don't give up. Let's talk about me though. But I think because I mean, like dealing with my dad, I feel has like almost killed me, and I'm like a young, healthy person. Do you know what I mean? But I think he changed. I think he became a lot more annoying and unchangeable after my mom died. He's like in his older age. Like I remember being like 15 or something. He was like, I'm 64. I'm not going to change. You change. And I was like, this is unfair. But like, I guess I have no choice. But anyway, I'm sure it wasn't his fault. He loved her. But, I can't ask him, do you think that there's any possibility that you killed my mom by being annoying? Because he'd really be bummed. I think he'd take offense to it. So I just talk about it with you and record it and put it on the internet.
Well, I think get him to do some breathing, then ask him. Wim Hof breathing, followed by a nice ask, just right on the deathbed, even if that might.
You kill my mother. Yes. I think so. Well, I always used to have this fear. I'm like, oh, should I say this? And I'm like, yeah. I had this fear that my mom never got to really come because my dad's so selfish sometimes that I'm just like, what if every time he came, he was like, oh, that's that, you know, like he was born in 1935. How is that guy going to be like, you know, and the clitoris is that, you know, but my stepmother, because this is the thing is, the reason I feel okay about talking about this is my dad and my fucking stepmother have forced me to hear about their sex life for years. And it's like, I have to go to people outside of my family to get validation for how wrong that is, right? Because people in my family, thank you.
I mean, well, because I don't mean to interrupt your thought, but it's like you're sitting there and you're like, I've always wondered if he made her, and I'm like, if there is one thing I have never wondered about ever, and like even the fact that you've like implanted the idea in my head that my mom may or may not have ever I'm like, please don't. I'm aware of how things work. I'm aware of how I got here, but why? Like, you are the only person thinking about their parents fucking, unless there's a group for people who are in therapy about this, and it's like an incest problem, you know? Like, so you're the only one not fucking your family wondering if they're coming, but go on. It's not your fault.
Okay, but that's because, first of all, we know that our fathers came because we're here, right? Every person is evidence that they're fucking fathers.
Doesn't mean I want to, you know, but go on.
Well, fine, you should be considering this, because this is what I think. I think that women in history have never gotten to come. And I think that, you know, with my mom, I think about her and I'm like, she was such a like high achieving lawyer. She was this like feminist, all this stuff, right? She was just like such a force. But then I think the reason I think about it is because she died young and she's only 43. And I'm like, God, that's not enough time at that time to really discover your body, you know? Because it's like, you know, it took me till I was like 20. Well, this is a long, you know, my dad accidentally gave me a vibrator when I was 12, right? So
I don't understand.
It was shaped like a dick, but he didn't know. He thought it, no. I always had sore shoulders. So he gave me one of those, like, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And one day I was doing my homework and I put it down and I was like, sweet Jesus, you know, like I was like.
A tale is old as time.
Totally. So, but because of that, I didn't have to like mess around too much, figure things out. I could just use this external thing. So, yeah, I was 19 before I like figured out where my clit was, because we were away. My dad and I had separate rooms on a vacation for a family wedding, and I was desperate to come, and I hadn't brought my fucking power vibrator that had to be literally plugged into the wall. And I was in this hotel room and I'm like, how am I gonna come? I think I had an electric toothbrush, not the head of, but you know, the base. Like, I don't know. I just was like, what do I do? And then finally I discovered my clit. Anyway, long story long, in the words of my friend Catherine Henson, I've wondered if my own mother was able to figure out all this stuff before she died. I'll never get to ask her, you know, like people are like, oh, what do you wish you knew? I'm like, well, I wish I remembered her voice. I wish I knew if she came and how. But anyway,
see,
if she were alive, I wouldn't need, I'm kidding, you know?
I mean, all of this is, well, no. This is, and you know, this is the word of the year for me, triggering. It's triggering in a variety of ways, because I'm always afraid that my mom is going to die and I'm not going to have asked her enough questions about things or learned enough about her. And like, so I have the opportunity to ask her, but this is not something I even want to know, but like the fear that I'm not going to have the opportunity to find out one day. So you're starting to drive a wedge between me and my mother.
Learn from my mistakes, Catherine, you know?
Please don't make me do this.
Learn from my mistakes. You need to know if your mother has come and when
I really don't want to know.
Started to come.
My mom is like alone right now. Like she doesn't have like anybody, and she hasn't for years. And like, I guess I'll put it this way. I've had that thought fly through my mind and I'm like, please keep going. I don't want to be anywhere near this. Just go in, go out. I don't want to think about if she considers it, if she ever had, or what's going on over there in Sacramento with her Basset Hound rescue in her backyard.
Oh no, don't bring up the dog, because I'm going to go to places.
Stop it. I'm going
to go to places you don't want me to go. I mean, I think you'll find out this is the thing about your parents. When they die, you do find things out, and maybe you'll find a vibrator. Maybe you'll find some condoms, that are from the 50s. Maybe, I mean, she knows about sex. You're here.
I'm aware. But you got two. Listen, I mean, not to bring it to this, but I always do. You got two Capricorns. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it with each other. We're aware.
Right. My dad's a Pisces. My dad's a Pisces. Okay, and I don't know if this is a Pisces thing, but he and my stepmother I thought that she was with me on this. I thought my stepmother also felt that it was inappropriate to talk to her stepdaughter, or her husband's daughter, about their sex life. But no, as I've gotten older, it's gotten worse. When she moved in, when I was a kid, I knew where my dad's porns were because I went through everybody's everything, right? Like I knew that he had porn, and I knew that he had a half of a joint in a matchbox, and I thought that was going to give him cancer. So I destroyed the joint in the toilet and flushed it. And I just think,
wow, who are you? Like now,
I was.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was like, what if my dad fucking dies from smoking this joint? Because I was a child.
You're the only one who does that. Every other person on the face of the planet smokes that joint, and you're like, no.
No, I started smoking them when I was 11 or 12. So I'm just saying. When I was 9, I destroyed it. But I just think, imagine my dad, like, ooh, I got a little half joint left. I'm gonna put the kids to bed early and watch a little porn. And then he goes to find the fucking joint, and it's like gone. And he's probably like, "Where's the joint?" You don't just lose a half of a joint in a matchbox in your drawer with all your whatever stuff. So anyway, I knew where
that could drive him crazy to this day. What you've done.
That's true. I mean, I did tell him about it years later. Oh. Yeah, I told him about it like literally like 5 years ago. When we were airing our grievances, I was like, I know what you did. And so
I don't know why. I feel like the airing of the grievances happens in your family on any holiday. I feel like you're like,
just me. It's just me.
You're like, I brought my list.
I mean, I've ruined so many holidays, but they deserved it. They totally. So listen, okay, and then tell me. This is the thing: is it's like I've been called a nightmare, but it's like I'm
by
like,
me.
Yeah, my other nightmare friend. But then I'm like, listen to how I grew up, and then tell me that I'm not doing amazing. Do you know what I mean? Because this is the thing: my stepmother moved in. And the porn that was hidden away in a locked drawer that I knew how to open, right, and would occasionally open. My favorite one was called "What About Boob," and then there was another one. My dad has an obsession with midgets. Like I think I've talked about this before. And somebody gave him a porn. I remember my cousin gave him a porn called.
Your cousin?
I know. This is my family. It was called Little Big Dong, and it was starring.
There's a lot wrong with what's going on right now.
It starred a little person with a big dick. I know. And so this is what I'm saying. I'm doing great. And so when she moved in, all of the porn and all of the erotica books and whatever all made it to the fucking bookshelf publicly in the bedroom so that I couldn't come in their room without pretending.
Literally.
Okay. Pretending that this thing didn't exist. It's like, and this shit was like the real deal, it wasn't just like, the joy of sex. It was just like stuff that a kid didn't need to see. I was 13 when she moved in. So anyway, my dad always tries to throw things in. He's like, oh, I remember dating the big blonde back in 1958. I'm like, doesn't she have a name? He calls her the big blonde, and it's like she probably had massive tits and was 6 feet tall and whatever, but he doesn't have a name for her. She's the big blonde. And we were in her car and we were, heavy petting, and I'm like, Dad, I don't want to hear it. I'm your daughter. And he's like, you're so prude, such a prude. And I'm like, no, it's called boundaries. It's called boundaries. You can tell anybody else about this, but I don't want to know. And he gets like upset with me, and he does this all the time about everything. And like I knew from a very young age that he had this Japanese girlfriend when he was in Japan on leave in the Navy, and that she didn't want to wear a condom. She didn't want him to wear a condom. He says for a month they lived
Why
together.
do I have to know this now? Okay, go on.
I know. And he's like, so I could have a Japanese like a half Japanese child, and I'm like, who would be
Wonderful.
probably close to, what is that? If close to 70 at this point. I could have a half sibling who's close to 70 years old. So it's like, I knew this from a young age. So anyway, I've gotten him to like not, and he'll try to fuck with me, and then he'll laugh when I'm like, stop, no, don't want to hear it. And then my stepmother started recently talking.
Recently?
Yes, and since during COVID, where she's like, when I married your dad, like, or something about, like, I was like, she was like complaining about it, and I'm like, why did you marry him? Like, and I was kind of joking, and she's like, well, the sex was incredible. I'm like, stop.
Oh God.
Stop. And then she's like, you're such a prude. And I'm like, why do these people who were supposed to have raised me, which they didn't do, why do they feel like why do they feel entitled to tell me about their fucking? I don't tell them about my sex life. And then my dad's like, oh, but you talk about all these things in your comedy. I'm like, and I never sent it to you. I don't show you. I don't tell you about it. You Google it, fine. But I don't want to talk to you about it. And so I guess I think I'm doing okay, considering.
Yeah. I mean, my family's like sex talk. I learned about sex through a magazine at the hairdresser. Okay. And I just happened to pick up one of those articles that was like, when I was a little girl, I asked my mom what sex was. And rather than give me a rigmarole, she said it's when a man and a woman love each other very much and he puts the penis in the vagina. And I remember I read that and I was like, oh, and then that was it. I never asked my mom any fucking questions. I don't even think we ever talked about it.
Wow.
I don't even remember how I got on the pill, but I think
she started in your fucking lunch.
Yeah. Which, God bless her for that.
Along with your Zach.
Yeah, I mean, if we bring up sex for any reason, like if we've ever had to, because I did get an STD when I was a kid.
Really? What did you get?
I didn't know I had it. I got chlamydia. And
how old were you?
Well, I was 17.
Okay.
And I was dating a guy. And I remember we didn't have a condom. It was like Valentine's Day. And then I was like, okay. And then we like broke up. This motherfucker owes me $20. His name's Kyle Runyon. Fuck you. And I will never forget this because he gave me chlamydia because he's the only person I had sex with without a condom.
Right.
Okay. So it's him. That's it. And he borrowed $20 and he worked at Tower Records and my mom went in to get the $20 back and he wouldn't give it to her. Yeah. Cocksucker.
Give it to your fucking mother.
Yeah. Kyle Runyon. I don't know what he does anymore, but he owes me $20. And I'm sure he's somewhere jerking off, giving people STDs in Sacramento. Who cares if he's a fucking saint now? I don't care. I will never forget this. He gave me chlamydia and he owes me $20. But basically, I had chlamydia. So this was around the time I started to smoke meth, which then you're like, well, you deserve chlamydia. No, the two things are not related.
No one deserves chlamydia except for Kyle Runyon.
Yeah, Kyle Runyon. And so I don't know if he knew he had it, you know what I mean? But that's not the point. And like, so I broke up with him and then I kind of started smoking meth. So I was doing that for a while. And it was at the end of summer when I had started kind of getting off meth because I knew I was going to college in New York. And I was like, I don't know if they have meth there. I can't go there with a meth problem.
This is after your camp thing or your...
Yes. Yeah, this was after my camp thing.
Oh, God. Okay.
I know. Yeah, well, because you go to a camp like that and you just learn how to lie more and lie better, and and so you can smoke meth, casually. But I was working for my mom and I was dating a guy that I had been smoking meth with, so we were quitting it together. So we had unprotected sex, right? But what happened was I was working for my mom one day and I just started getting these horrific cramps in my stomach. Like I've never felt something like that before in my life. Like we stopped what we were doing and went to urgent care. And then they, gave me the battery of tests or whatever. And they were like, yeah, you have chlamydia and it's possible you've had it for a while. And it's just, you didn't know because I had no signs. And then suddenly it was ripping my stomach apart. So then of course I tell my boyfriend to get tested. He doesn't have it somehow. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
right.
Yeah. But so all I could say is like, it's got to be Kyle Runyon because it wasn't, the meth guy.
It's
And
definitely the guy you had sex with without a condom on Valentine's Day who still owes you $20, who worked at Tower Records. Like, of
Kyle
course, he
Runyon.
worked. Now he's a barista. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like the version of him today is like, and he's got a beard and he's an ally. You know what I mean? Like, that's the guy today.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. He is a fucking male feminist for sure.
Totally. I fucking hate those guys who were like, as an ally, blah blah blah. You're like,
Yeah.
I would much rather that you ally yourself to me by putting your mouth between my legs and using that wind or that energy that you're using to call yourself an ally to go down on me and get me to come, because I don't want to hear it. It is such a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, I want that ally Kyle Runyon to pay me that $20 with interest. All right. I've had emotional suffering. I think I'm owed at least $1,000 by now from that motherfucker.
Well, I'm telling you what, I'm turning that whole, I mean, as you're saying it, I was like, I'm turning this Kyle Runyon bit into an Instagram clip. So it's gonna get on Instagram. I mean, you know, and who knows, man? You know what happens? You put things on Instagram, it could go viral, like chlamydia, which is not, I don't think it's a virus. I think it's a bacterial thing. But anyway, we should wrap this up. And the reason why is because Andrew, who didn't subscribe, told me sometimes people might want to listen to something shorter, and maybe it'd be nice if you guys just made stuff that was shorter. So this is a shorter episode of just two hens clucking, you know, two chickens chit-chatting.
I love that we're taking advice from someone who has not subscribed to the podcast.
I'm just trying to, you know, make myself a person and a podcaster who Andrew would subscribe to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Andrew and others like Andrew, whatever that means. Breathing humans.
Yeah, and he does listen to every episode, so I'm not going to tell him. I'm going to be
like Andrew and listen to every episode.
Yeah.
But don't be like Andrew and not subscribe.
Totally. Subscribe. And also learn Wim Hof breathing, because it's really helping Catherine a lot right now. It's helping me, and it might help you in going down on people. You just don't know.
You don't know until you try.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any advice for people? Floss? Anything? Drink less caffeine, more water, anything.
I mean, I did the Wim Hof. I introduced a giant thing of advice and TM. Don't pay for it, and try to not talk to your parents about sex, because it's going to make you feel weird when your friend relays the story to you.
How's this? If you have kids,
you really
respect their boundaries. That's what I'll say. If you ever have children,
there you go.
Don't pull your porn out and go, well, this is who we are and our kids need to accept it. No, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to be weird and fucked up, and they're going to talk about you on a podcast. So
I suddenly feel like this was a fucking test for me and I failed, but you know.
Why? What was the test?
Because you were like, any advice? And I'm like, who do you think I am? It's like, don't jump yet. I think, I don't know, you know, it's yet to be determined if I've made a good choice not dying, but still kicking.
I like when you get awkward for like no reason. Like, to me, it's like, oh, you could say anything. You could just say like, believe in your dreams. None of them will come true, but you should believe, you know, like you could say anything, but you're like, oh God, I feel so put on the spot. Because
I don't want to lie to the people. I don't got any good advice right now. Every decision I've made for the past year has led to just an avalanche of shit. So what do you want? I guess do whatever I did, do the opposite. And there you go.
But you did also get on this podcast, and that's been good for both of us.
Yes.
You know.
Well, you're right. And I'll say that because I can tell you need it. Yes.
Oh, I thought we were having a moment, and then suddenly it's about okay. All right. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just go call my father and see if he can help.
That wraps up the final episode we'll ever do.
Well, look, thanks for listening to our bonus episode. We're going to try to do more episodes like
follow us.
Yeah, follow the goddamn podcast. Please rate it. Leave a comment. You know, it's like, if you listen, stop listening in the dark. You know, just come out about it. You know, come out and be open. Follow Catherine at EelGirlYouNasty on Instagram. You can follow me at Eve Elbow. And you can also follow the podcast at Everyone's Doing Better. And thanks. God bless.